Hello, lovely sim racers. I'm Constantinos, and today we're taking a deep dive into the lovely dashboard. In this video, I will guide you through the process of selecting the files that you need, downloading the files, and installing the files for the lovely dashboard. I will also show you how you update the lovely dashboard, how you set it up, how you can bind the keys, how you can use it on any of the devices that you may have or may not have, and in the end, we'll also look at the basic features of what the lovely dashboard can do. Starting off, the first link you'd want to visit is the lovely dashboard Github Repository. Think of this as the lovely dashboard home, where we store all the files, do all the development, and we also have a lot of documentation. So let's head on over. On the lovely dashboard Github Repository, you will find a lot of information, but for the purpose of this video, we'll just go directly onto the download section. Scroll down and you will find the section called download and install. This has everything you need to run the lovely dashboard. So step 1, it says download Simhub version 8 and above. The lovely dashboard requires version 8 and above, so make sure you always download that version. Click on that link, will take you to the Simhub website, where you will go to the download section and just hit that big blue button. You will download the file, you will double click it, and you will install Simhub Dash. Everything else will be handled in Simhub, and we're not going to do that troubleshooting for them. It's fairly straightforward though. So once you have Simhub Dash installed, you will need to go back to the GitHub repository, and I want you to download the Roboto font family. It is the font we're using on the lovely dashboard. Clicking on that will take you to the Google Fonts page. Again, top right, click that button. You will download it, and then for each file you will need to double click and it will self-install on your system. Once you do that, you're good. Before we continue on to downloading the actual lovely dashboard files, I want you to download the RSC iRacing Extra Properties DLL. Basically, this is a set of files that help Simhub extract more information for iRacing. If you don't use iRacing, you probably won't want this, but for any case, this is how you download it, and this is where you would install it as well. So click on it and you are taken to the folder. In this folder, all you need to do is basically just go into plugins only here on top and hit download. This will download a zip file with all of the enclosed files. Once you have those on your system, you will unzip them and you will need to drop them into the Simhub root directory on your computer. The Simhub root directory is on your PC. It is on your local disk, program files, Simhub. You don't need to do anything else. You just need to copy and paste all the files. They're somewhere in here in my system. Oh, there they are. They're right there. You just copy and paste them. And once they're copied and pasted, all you need to do is run Simhub and it will install and it would recognize them. And you're good to go. And now on to the final bit. Going back to the lovely Simhub GitHub repository, you will need to download the latest release. Now, we have a link here for the latest releases, but just so you know, on the page right here, there is a release section. So you can either click on the latest release directly, or you can view all of the releases. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go directly to the latest version, which is 1.6.2. In here, when you're in a release, you will find a bunch of files to download. If you want to download the LED profiles, you will need to download one of these. The naming of the LED profiles is basically the actual setup, the format of your DDU unit. So these are for the people that have DDU units. 484, for instance, is when there are 4 LEDs to the left, 4 to the right, and 8 in the center. And that goes for the rest of them. Now, for the important bits. If you want to download the lovely dashboard, the file you need to download is the lovely dashboard, Simhub Dash. If you want the lovely dashboard XL, the lovely dashboard XL is what you want to download. And for the overlay, again, the lovely overlay. You should download the one you want. You don't need to download them all. You just click on the file, it will download to your system. One more thing we want to get before we leave the GitHub page is the lovely dashboard settings JSON. So let me go on ahead and download the files that I will need for my system. So the first thing I will need to download is the LED profile. The other one I want is the lovely dashboard, obviously. And I also want to use a lovely overlay. So downloading that as well. And finally, I want to download the lovely dashboard settings file. Clicking on that. So as you can see, I already have these files in my download folder. The first thing you want to do is copy the lovely dashboard settings file, and we need to paste it into the Simhub folder. Now let me bring up a brand new Explorer here and show you where we actually need to copy it. So you hit Control-C, and then on your new window, you navigate to your drive where you have Simhub installed. In my drive, it's the C drive. And in there, you go to Program Files, and we just scroll down and find the Simhub folder. Find the JavaScript extensions folder. You need to paste that file in here, that JSON file. I already have it there, but you get the point. It's as simple as that. Now, having this file in its location, we can go back onto installing the actual lovely dashboard. Closing that, all you need to do for the installation of this dashboard is double click on it. So as with any other file, if we have everything set up as we previously have done, you just double click on this, and double clicking on it will ask us, do we want to install the lovely dashboard? And we import it and we're good to go. Dashboard already exists because I already have it. Fine, cancel. Same thing will go for the overlay, and for the LED profile, I will just show you how to do that. So now that we have installed the dashboard and the lovely overlay, and we already have the settings file in place, let's head on over to Simhub and see what we've done so far. In the Simhub application, you will want to navigate down to Dash Studio, where you will see and you will find the lovely dashboard waiting for you. In the overlays, you will also see the lovely overlay over here. Now, if you have a DDU unit which requires LED profiles, you go to Arduino, you go to RGB LEDs and Profile Manager, and this is where you import that file. And when you import it and it's selected and loaded, this is what you will be using. When you see a notification on your lovely dashboard, you will need to navigate back to the Github repository. You only need to update the latest file, and if there is a change in the JSON file, you will also need to re-download that and install that. All the changes that I do are in the changelog. So if you read the changelog, I will also notify you that you will need to change the settings file as well. So keep that in mind. Always read the changelog just to be sure. Now, once you have the new version of the lovely dashboard downloaded, you go to your download folder, you double click the file, and it's installed and it overrides the previous version. So to recap what we've done so far, we have downloaded all the files that we needed. We have installed Simhub. We have installed the fonts. We have installed the iRacing libraries. We have downloaded all the files that were required for the lovely dashboard. We have moved them into the places where they were required to be moved into. And we also installed the lovely dashboard. Now, let's jump back into Simhub Dash and see how we can use the lovely dashboard. How do we use the lovely dashboard? The easiest way without any hardware is just clicking on the actual dashboard and selecting windowed mode. This will create a floating window where you can actually put this and scale it in place of the actual dashboard in the car you're driving. This will basically live above all the other windows on your PC, so it will always be there. And you can use the lovely dashboard with this simple method. It's not even, doesn't require anything, just Simhub Dash. Now, this is one way to do it, and it's fairly simple. The other way is also preferred if you have an old phone, mobile phone, or an old tablet. All you need to do is go over here to the More section and copy OBS Browser. When you copy that, you will copy a URL where you can just use that in any browser on a tablet or a phone, and it will display the same thing. Let me demonstrate that on my local browser on the PC. As you can see, it is the exact same dashboard in a browser. Now you can imagine this thing working on your tablet or your phone. It's the same thing. The third one, which is having an external DDU unit, is pretty much the same process. It's just a different button. So let's close these and I'll just show you what you do there. When you want to display this dashboard on any of the screens you may have, even the DDU unit, you just select the Show on Lovely DDU, which is my DDU. You click on that, you're all set. Now that we have everything installed, set up, and running on our computer and on our screens, let's go set it up. For the DDU unit, I select Devices and go over here to my DDU unit and select Controls. And this is where I bind all the keys. Currently, I'm just binding the next dash screen and all of the actions A, B, C, and D. With these, you will have control over what you see on the dashboard. Now that we have everything ready, let's do one last thing. Let's customize our dashboard. You need to pull up your Explorer and navigate all the way to the settings file that we pasted before. Program files as always, Simhub, JavaScript extensions, and this is where we have the file. And you will need to edit this in any text editor. I will just use Notepad, which is what you have on all PCs. When we're in Notepad, what you will see in this file is all the settings and all the parameters you can adjust for the Lovely dashboard. And this is how you can customize it and make it your own. But just to show you, let me run the dashboard and you can see how these things affect the actual dashboard. Here, we can type in our name. You can also type in your number. And over here, if you have your color, you can also put it there. Any web safe color, you can just put a name, red, blue, light blue, pink, silver, yellow. They all work, and gold and all those names. But if you want to be very specific, you can also use a hex value. The default hex value is my blue color. So if I don't put anything, it will use the default value. Let's save this and see what happens to the dashboard. The dashboard automatically updates its splash screen and now has your name and your number. So if I go here and say 88 and hit save, it'll change to an 88. If I change it to 123, it'll change it to 123. Same thing goes for the names and the color as well. So if I change this to red and hit save, it'll become red. So those were the 3 easiest settings you can find. Every setting and every option has a small description and what you can actually change on the dashboard. But I'll just give you a rundown of how these things work and what you can actually change. So the next one is the driver name. If you put 0, then in the dashboard and the overlay and dashboard Excel and everything else, you will see an F initial and full last name. Or if you put a value of 1 here, you will see the full name and the last name will be an initial. The LFM ID is very new. It hasn't been released as I'm speaking right now. But if you put your LFM ID here, you will get a small piece of text showing what your next session is. So you know what split you're running and the ID of the session. The lap review, every time you cross the finish line in qualifying or practice, you get a lap review. So with this, you can select when you see it. So by default, it's on 1, which is only on qualifying and practice sessions. But you can turn it off by setting this to 0, or you can set it to 2, which is always on, even during a race. When you see that lap review, you can also set how long it will stay on screen. Some tracks, it should be very short or long, depending on where the actual start-finish line is compared to T1, for instance. So you can set this to as much time as you want. Currently, it's at 2500, which is 2.5 seconds. If you wanted 1 second, you would just set it to 1000. Alert view. When you're changing your traction control or you're changing ABS or map, whatever, you have these alerts that come up on screen. You can select how they appear. First off, a normal alert is the full widescreen alert. If that's too obstructive and you don't want it, you can switch over to the mini, which is a smaller version of the same alert, but it's on the side. Or you can set it to 2 and completely turn off these alerts if you don't want them. Similar to the lap review, you can set how long they display. So by default, they're at 1000, which is 1 second only. But you can even put 500, which is half a second. Clutch mode is also something new we've added. In the center panel of the dashboard, there's a small yellow bit where it shows you where the clutch bite point basically. So it's set to 1 by default, which means it shows the clutch value only when it's engaged. Once it goes to 0, it goes away. You can choose to turn this off completely or put it on always. So if you set it to 2, the clutch will always display even when it's fully engaged and it's at 0. Show flags. So some of you may be running flags on your rig. If you don't want the flags to appear on the dashboard, you can set this to 1 or by default on 0, where you can actually see the flags. You can also select the map type. So there's a static map where you see the entire map with everyone on the track, or you can set it to animated, where it zooms into the area around your car. So you have that option to change it. The UI mode is all the lines in the Lovely dashboard. You can set them to a higher or lower value. So they're a bit brighter or not. Low is on 0, medium is on 1, and high is on 2. One of the things we added lately is the UI radius. So the entire dashboard has an outer radius which matches your physical device, the actual DDU. So for mine, it's 45 pixel radius, but you can change that to anything you want. I would suggest having it a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 50. And the last thing, the final thing we've added to the dashboard is the night mode. Night mode is when you turn on the lights on your car, the actual dashboard dims slightly. All of these settings you can change and you can customize for your own dashboard, for your own experience for the dashboard. So for the last bit of this video, I will walk you through some of the features of the Lovely dashboard as they are on the dashboard itself. So first off, let's head over to the documentation. In the documentation, we have a lot of information, but if you go all the way down here, you'll also see all the features that are available. Now, these are generic features. This is specifically for ACC, but some of these exist in, well, most of these exist in other sims that are supported, but some don't. But just the basics, if you view the full feature set, you can go here and you can see everything in detail. And even for the lap review alerts and for the primary screens and everything. But if you deep dive into these, you'll also see a few other stuff, like for the primary screen, for instance, the left and right panels, which are important and are controlled by the binding key that we already had, and you can see what you can actually do with those. So you can see action A, action B, action D, and action C, and of course, what every action controls. So always use the documentation. I would suggest you go through it and see exactly what you can do, and take full advantage of the Lovely dashboard. There are a lot of stuff you can do. But documentation is one thing. Let me show you what you can do. All right, we've got a session running on the Lovely dashboard. This is by default the screen you would see while you're racing. Now, as I said, we have the main button, which is next dash screen. And this button, basically, you can control what screen you're viewing. The first screen is the primary screen where you have all the information. And by clicking on the next dash screen, you go to the next screen, which is the timetables. You can see your relative and the standings. And when there's a fastest lap, you also see that. So you know exactly who has the fastest lap and what that fastest lap is. And the next screen is the map screen. And you can see session time, your position, your laps, and also the map. Now this is the animated map. As we already said, you can change it to the static map. But let's go to the main screen and see what you can do there. In the main screen, the action A controls this panel over here. So by clicking your action A on your steering wheel or on your keyboard or anywhere where you have bound the key, you will loop through these modules. You have your tire module, you have your damage, you have your lap times, obviously, and you have your relative, and you also have your class standings. And then you go back and it just loops through all of these screens. And the same thing goes with your action B, which controls the right-hand module. Again, the same exact screens. But what if you don't want that? Maybe you want to see the relative and then you want to have your lap times on the left. Or you can see the relatives on the left and put damage on the right. And finally, probably the most important action is the action D, which is for fuel. Now, by default, the fuel panel shows you how much fuel you have, how much your average consumption is, and how many laps you have based on that consumption and the fuel that you have. But if you go on and hit D, it will show you how much time you have left with the fuel that you have. And the third screen is the calculator. The first number on the refuel, it tells you how much fuel you need to finish the race. Currently it's 0 because I have enough fuel to end the race. But if you were in a larger endurance race, you would probably see a larger number. Now this has a max capacity of your tank. So let's say you were doing a 24-hour race, it would never show you 1,000 or 5,000 liters. it would always show you your max tank capacity, so 120 or 110 liters. The second number is how much fuel you will have at the end of the race, on the finish line. For this example, you can clearly see that I will have 5.2 liters at the finish line. Now this is calculated on the fly based on your consumption, based on your lap times and everything. For the rest of the functions of the dashboard, you obviously have your lights and your rain light and your window wipers and your ignition. One of the things you can see is when your ignition is off, this is red, and you turn on ignition and it will turn yellow here. And when it's yellow, it changes to engine off. And when you turn the engine on, that goes away. And then you also have pit limiter. And as you can see in the pit limiter, you will see the speed you're going and the gear you are in. Then you have information for the session, if it's a qualifying session, if it's practice, or if it's a race, your position lap, the actual local track time. For the tires, it's you got your pressures, you got your tire temps and your brake temps, and these also change in color depending if they're slicks or if they're wet tires. They have different colors. You can also see the set of tires you're using. In the center console, you have your gear, your RPM, your speed, track conditions. They're not available on all sims, but we have different versions of this depending on the sim. Your lap times, you have your predicted lap time, your last lap time, and your best lap time. And these also follow the same colors. So purple is best overall, green is your personal best, and yellow is a lap time. And finally, in the bottom part, we have your traction control 2 or cut, or whatever you want to call it, ABS, brake balance, map, and the fuel, obviously. Now you'll notice that the ABS turns on. Same thing happens with traction control. There it is. When it engages, it turns on. So you know what's happening. Same thing happens with the tires. As you can see, when the traction control engages, you see which tire is slipping. And when you're braking hard, it will be yellow in the tire area over here, and you will know which tire is locking. And that's pretty much it. This is all the information you have during a race. And that pretty much concludes the entire lovely dashboard, the walkthrough. I hope you enjoyed it. We basically went through everything regarding the lovely dashboard. So I hope this video will be useful to everyone. Either it's the first time you're using it or you have been using the lovely dashboard for a while. If you like this content, please like and subscribe on the video. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And most importantly, join the Discord. There we have a lot of discussions, and there's an open channel where we have a lot of suggestions and proposals and ideas for the lovely dashboard. So please join there and be a part of this discussion. Be a part of the lovely dashboard. Together we can make it better. It's all I can say. Thank you very much, and I'll see you around.